Well, hey, good morning, everybody. My name is Jared. This is Justice's Waiting Room, a daily live podcast where we discuss news and politics. Sorry I'm late, just like a dog. My wife and I had just talked about when we were going to feed them, and I said usually if they're asleep, I feed them after the show, right? If they're running around being idiots, I'll feed them before the show. And so this morning, huh, interesting. Anyway, right before I went to go live, I heard dog food, like my wife was messing around with the dog food. So I ran in there thinking, yeah, happy Wednesday, everybody. Debs, Stacy, Bob, Danielle, Angie, Kara. Switch it over to live chat. All right, so I think the story of the day is the White House has a TikTok account. Uh, Immediately, I was like, I want to be part of the unwelcoming party. They're already getting trolled to death, and hey, you get what you get. The energy you put out is the energy that gets returned to you. The last thing that I saw before I went live was a old Nick Saban speech where he said, "If you ever feel like you're a good person and that people just don't like you or whatever, it's because mediocre people don't like high achievers. And if you ever feel like, man, I just don't like people, high achievers don't like mediocre people." Anyway, so I want to make sure that I stick my neck out there and unwelcome because it's against the law. So the primary reason that I'm not a big fan of the White House having a TikTok account is that they passed a law in 2022 that said no TikTok on a government device. It's a national security issue. It's an international security issue. All all these elected officials, TikTokins, got to come on their own devices. hmm So for the president to have a White House official TikTok account, he's probably running it off his cell phone. Again, he has no problems whatsoever disclosing, secrets. So, so yeah, I intend to be unwelcoming. Uh, the content I made today loosely referenced one of the top stories from the last 24 hours, where Donald Trump really wants to go to heaven. And I posited this morning, had we thought about introducing the president to purgatory, where we are stuck with him? Uh huh. Yeah. So, and also you might want to introduce him to the concept of hell and eternal damnation and hail and brimstone. What the fuck do I know, right? As he should, Zoran Mamdani pounces uh, on the idea of Andrew Cuomo seeking President Trump's help to defeat Zoran Mamdani. I hope Andrew Cuomo loses everything. Also, want to point out, Andrew Cuomo is one of the lawyers for AI PAC Israel. So Do not vote for Andrew Cuomo. See, this is an example of where you don't want to vote for the Democratic establishment candidate. You want to vote for Zoran Mamdani. Hmm. He's a DSA member. Hmm. I think we all knew this. Bess said Andrew Cuomo is part of the problem. Agree. You know you're doing something right, Bess, when before I saw your comment, all I saw was some comments in this live were filtered to protect. Why are people so quick to defend people? These people aren't worth defending. Andrew Cuomo is a Democrat. Why would you defend that? I'm guessing. And then, to the surprise of no one, there have been a handful of states that have agreed to send National Guards people uh, to Washington, D.C. And New Orleans, Memphis, Baton Rouge, and Jackson, Mississippi all have higher crime rates than Washington, D.C. Those D.C. guardsmen should be sent to their own cities to make the streets safer if that actually worked. Hmm. But as though this administration had any intent at all whatsoever to actually address problems, they don't. Right? Might create some problems. All right, so they locked an elected official in her state capital, and I'm pretty sure that is illegal. She's suing, which kind of coincides with my thoughts. That's illegal. Um, yeah. So here's the thing. I live in Marion County, like Indianapolis, Indiana, which is blue as fuck. Every county that touches Marion County and all of the counties in Indiana are not blue. They're red as fuck. So redistricting Indiana doesn't make any fucking sense because you're already winning, but it'll make you lose. So darn. Yeah, it's never been more important now than ever to make sure that you register to vote. Hmm. Hmm. And you wield that vote like a thorn in their side. Yes, you do. Hmm. Redistricting Indiana is a waste of time, energy, and resources. But then again, that's the Republican Party. Why the fuck would you redistrict a state that you've won for 50 years? What the fuck? Yeah. And to the surprise of no one, Gavin Newsom is talking like Donald Trump, right? And it's fucking infuriating the right because every time he gets asked about why do you keep talking like that on the internet, he says, it's terrible. It's ridiculous, isn't it? Now imagine if I were the president, and why isn't anybody saying this about the president? Look how the president talks on the internet. And of course, the people that ask the question get all up in their fifis because they're like, blah, 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 blah. No. And he's like, but yeah, I'm copying him. It's terrible. It should stop. It should stop with him. Hmm. I'll stop copying him if he stops doing dumb shit on the internet. Uh huh. Yeah, yeah. Too bad the Russians, man, slip of the tongue. The Republicans are all traitors. Yeah, you don't have to have much of a platform when the opposition is fascist. All you got to do is show up and vote. Yeah, and they've won like 85% of those elections since election day. So I'd be real careful about talking about how Democrats don't have a platform because they've just been wiping the fucking floor with Republicans. So yep, keep that fucking. Democrats don't have a platform. Yeah, you don't have to have one when you just show up and do your job and don't hurt a bunch of people. Know what I mean? Let's go our separate ways, shall we? One follower, four following. Count brand new. So I'm in the clinic this week, and so many people are walking around with blinders on. I can't see them. They don't know what's happening. Normally, I have keep chill work, but I've been trying to speak with some people at work to try to wake them up. Yeah, it doesn't surprise me. A bunch of people just straight up stop watching the fucking news after the election. Uh, a reminder that the president of the United States does not have the power to affect elections. The states do. And so Donald Trump. I just. So the president reached out to the Smithsonian and said, "Y'all got to stop talking about how bad slavery is." Right? The Smithsonian is the Museum of History, right? Right? And so he's mad at the Smithsonian Museum of History for not talking about the future. Tell me how that fucking makes sense. Yeah, what I've learned is people have no empathy, but they expect it. So when people show you no empathy, show them the door, and then when they require empathy, you are at an impasse. You can show them something they've never shown you, or you could just fucking let them go. And I'm a let them go kind of person. hmm You give empathy to the people that you see empathy from, right? Empathy on empathy. hmm I refuse to show empathy to someone who has none. No, I'd rather just spit on your headstone instead. You see Nick Fuentes. Here's one. Remember, the enemy of my enemy is not my friend in this case. So Nick Fuentes had been once the money stopped a while back. Nick Fuentes flipped on Donald Trump a long time ago. So him coming back and continuing to go back at the right. Hey, he did this to himself. That's his audience. He built that. hmm Yeah, I mean, a lot of people are like, Jared, how do we make this all go away? And it's like he dies. Like I'm guessing with them cankles and the fact that he can't hold in his piss or shit, and he's got real bad dementia, and he's also real dumb. I'm guessing like eventually it all just stops working one morning, night. You know, hopefully it's mid tweet, right when he's at his fucking angriest. You just hear a pop and silence. hmm And I'm warning you, these idiots will try to prop up a dead man like it's fucking Weekend at Bernie's because they have nothing if not for Donald Trump. hmm Lynn's on TikTok said, "Fuck that! I want to see it live on camera." Everything else that motherfucker did is live, right? He was on TV for every other goddamn reason. By the way, man, the medical community treats pregnant women like shit, huh? Especially when they're black. Man, we got to do better. Two Texas moms were forced to wait for urgent care after pregnancy loss. They died. So, let's see. Hillary Clinton popping in with some fucking great news, lady. Hillary Clinton says the Supreme Court's gonna do to gay marriage what they did to abortion. You know, whoever is in charge next, you really got to expand that Supreme Court and add three progressive seats so that they can vote in a enforceable um, code of ethics for Supreme Court justices. They've got to be replaceable. You know, these lifetime appointments as Supreme Court justice seats are a racket. Because there's no way these people can be punished. And hey, you know, one of the things about all this is I'm a white cis male. I'm married. Good to go. There ain't a goddamn thing this administration's doing is affecting me directly. Okay, so when I'm on here saying like, God damn, like this shit's fucking brutal. But the cruelty is the point. The chaos is the point. It's not about results. Okay, the purpose is demoralization. Okay, it's it's the goal of an oppressor to demoralize the people. They want us fighting. They want us split up. They want us going at each other. Hmm. They want you not sticking up for each other and shit. For example, I live in Indianapolis, Indiana, and I am a former high school football coach, football player, football sports journalist. I covered the Colts. And now that I'm not tied to anyone, uh, the the Indianapolis Colts signed Daniel Jones, who is the quarterback for the Giants for like 8 years and terrible. And they announced yesterday that he'll be the starter for the Colts week 1. And then you know what's fucking stupid? Is Anthony Richardson, who they gave no fucking leash to at all, actually looked really good in preseason. And I think he's done in Indy, and I think it's a terrible decision. And I think that that Shane Steichen and Chris Ballard and the Indianapolis Colts staff, they all look really racist. They didn't like their black quarterback, so they went and got a white shitty one. And he's a shitty quarterback. And if he were a good quarterback, he'd have fucking stayed at the Giants. You don't normally trade a good quarterback away when you got one. And I really want to go to the Colts Week 1 game with a sign that says NGL feels racist. Like, not gonna lie, feels racist. Yeah, I probably get kicked out and shit of the game, but it's just true. Like I think that the black guy's a lot better athlete, and he moves a lot faster. And by the way, he was a winning quarterback. Yeah, he tapped out and had a little bit of an attitude problem and was averse to fucking preparation. You can change behaviors. Um, Daniel Jones sucks at quarterback. You know what I mean? Like, I don't give a fuck. And yeah, they should fucking trade Anthony Richardson. Yeah, before they just let the top five draft pick from last year just rot on the sideline. Yeah, it's this organization's run by a bunch of idiots. Now that Jim Irsay's dead, his daughters are gonna run this shit into the ground. Fucking Chris Ballard sucks. Shane Steichen sucks. And what they do? Throw away their fucking rookie quarterback and go get themselves some shitty white one from Duke, one they can talk to, one they can reach. Yeah, they're gonna fucking suck. Fuck this. I can imagine there's a bunch of people that ain't playing that are acting injured right now. There's a reason you've seen people come up limp all fucking summer. Like, oh, this guy's down. Oh, this guy's down. Say, who wants to fucking play for this shit show? Yep, you heard it. I said it. The players really like Anthony Richardson. The people outside of the Colts organization really like Anthony Richardson. Other head coaches really like Anthony Richardson. What is it telling you? What is it just exuding from the Colts? Racism. I'll say it. Racism. hmm Yep. They don't want a black quarterback. hmm the quarterback was playing winning football. hmm he might have been getting dinged up a little bit. It's because he has not played a lot of quarterback. hmm And so the impetus would be on getting that quarterback more reps. And instead, he won't play anymore in the preseason. And it's like, what the fuck are you doing? The most inept people in the world are running shit. hmm Watch. Because here's the thing. Here's the thing. And we'll move on. If I'm any defense playing against the Colts and Daniel Jones fakes a handoff, I'm not thinking of Daniel Jones as a potential runner. So I can just stay keyed on the run. You're not running on us, and your quarterback's not athletic enough to keep the football, and we're just going to kick his ass if he keeps the football. Anthony Richardson is a good enough athlete that if something happens, he can just keep the football and be a football player. hmm Now, he has gotten dinged up and injured and shit, and that's part of it. hmm Part of it's just becoming tough. Yep. Mm, nope. He's also a bad quarterback. hmm Anthony Richardson was just an inexperienced one. But here's my official opinion. It doesn't matter who starts the season, it won't be the person that finishes it. The Colts offensive line is banged up, and so it doesn't matter who the starter is to start the season, you're going to get your ass kicked. Week 2, the Colts play the Denver Broncos. And Denver's defense is really fucking good. And I'm telling you, that starter is going to be Daniel Jones, who's probably 1 and 0. Colts start the season with a win. Shane Steichen looks like a genius. They're playing nobodies, okay? And then they're going to get absolutely fucking roadhoused by Denver in week 2. And I think whoever the quarterback is week 2 is going to do so bad that they'll stick AR in there. Because you're not sticking with Daniel Jones for the season. Like, he didn't show you anything that you were like, yep, this is the guy. Nah, didn't see it. Didn't happen. Keep an eye on your grocery prices. Make sure we're not being delulu about our grocery bill. A lot of people I talk to still try to tell me they pay $100 a week for groceries, and I'm like, you're full of shit. Actually, I don't say that because it's not going to help me. Susan Collins just got a new Democratic challenger, a 40-year-old oyster farmer and U.S. Army veteran hoping to unseat 5-term Susan Collins, Republican from Maine. She pretends to be a moderate. God damn, Susan Collins is ugly as fuck, huh? Damn. Is there a pretty one among them? You know what I'm saying? What an apt fucking name, the Unfuckables, for the Republicans. Man, right on the right on the nose, the crooked nose. Obviously, the president is plotting to steal the midterms by ordering redistricting and trying to get rid of mail-in ballots. Yeah, got a couple dozen people in here watching. Hey, make sure that you control what you can control. I know there's a lot going on, and at times it can get disheartening, but hey, and there is the abject risk of you just getting picked up by ice, right? Um, you got to get 8 hours of sleep a night. Actually, science says nine. Okay, you gotta take a nap. You take a nap. Take a nap. Okay, you gotta eat right and exercise. You gotta stay on your feet and stay moving, right? Fire and move, as they used to say. Hey, Target's CEO is stepping down. Are we starting to feel what happened? What happens? Yeah. When you do fuck shit. A dozen billionaire CEO types have unalived since the start of the year, and here's Target's CEO stepping down. I'm taking them stepping down as CEO as a win. Mostly because it's like, what is there really? Julio Cesar Chavez Jr. has been deported to Mexico. Isn't he a boxer? Arrested 3 days after his high profile fight with Jake Paul. Oh, the Paul boys are soon National Day of Mourning. Except there won't be. A whole bunch of men are gonna pick up dipping tobacco just to be able to go every time they see Donald Trump's name. Jesus. There's a bus crash in Afghanistan that killed more than 70 Afghans returning from Iraq. I'm always iffy on calling the people of Afghanistan Afghans because it's like, isn't an Afghan a piece of clothing and aren't people from Afghanistan Afghani? Am I fucking insane? Afghani refers to the currency. So Afghan is actually correct. That's tough, Stace. That's why I was like, it wasn't really a high profile fight, but it definitely feels like they're trying to keep Chavez Jr. out of the fight scene by deporting him. after he fights Jake Paul. I don't even know what the outcome of the fight was. Jake Paul only fights tomato cans. So, given that that wasn't even the Chavez that boxes, yeah, it was the Chavez that boxes son, and he may be a fucking pro boxer too. But yeah, White House launches its TikTok account with Trump saying, "I am your voice." Is that Pammy calling you? Yeah. Well, for the record, Wednesdays are my wife's day off, and keep in mind we have four dogs. And when I'm on the show and my door's closed and it's just my wife, you could see how that could get overwhelming for her, right? Um, Any day she's off of work and I'm in here for 90 minutes is 90 minutes of hell for her, right? Because she now has to figure out how do I keep all these dogs from fucking destroying each other in this house and the muscles out of the room. You know what I mean? I'm just kidding. It's probably Pam wanting something from another dog. She will take a bone away from another dog, like one of our other dogs, and she'll bark at him like, "Give it to me." hmm Bunch of people in here. Good morning. Good morning. Happy Hump Day. My fantasy football draft is on Sunday. And my wife and I are in a fantasy football league together. It sounds like my house. Yeah. Hmm. Microsoft employees are occupying their own headquarters in protest against the company's ties to the Israeli military. I want to continue to point out Bill Gates is in the Epstein files. We've seen his picture, right? Hanging out with Epstein and fucking Trump. Okay. Um, Microsoft Azure was used by the Israeli military to profile Americans and Palestinians. Microsoft Azure. So there's an article from The Guardian. Well, the Nevada Globe reporting a local pastor was among 8 arrested in a Las Vegas area child predator sting. Getting everyone but the one in the White House, huh? ICE uses the Marriott hotel chain. You know what's hilarious, Debs? I remember I used to be a Vox Media journalist covering the Indianapolis Colts for like 6 years, and writers come and go. People are mostly moving on to paid writing positions from writing with us. Like once they join, if they're not getting paid, they're gonna go write for somebody that'll pay them. And so when guys leave and they don't want to be a part of the fantasy football league, guys are like, "Oh, damn, like we're gonna have to shut it down. We don't have enough guys." And I'm like, "No, I have the ringer." And they're like, "What?" "My wife." And they're like, "So now we gotta contend with you and your wife." And I'm like, "Oh, she's serious about this too." And so she's one. Oh yeah, my wife. You gotta understand. One of the reasons that I met my wife is that she's the first woman I ever met that saw me do something and was like, "I can beat you. You're beatable, and I'm gonna beat you." Like I was when we first met. Um, I was a hot shit at a job we had, and she came over and was like, "What are you doing? Teach me how to do it. I'm gonna go do it better." You know what I mean? So yeah, don't go to Marriott. Mm-mm. I'm glad that we canceled now that I know that. And know that there's more than just the Marriott. Marriott owns a bunch of hotels. But they said in 2019 that they were going to stop helping ICE, and they're still helping ICE. hmm Consumer sentiment, it goes a long way. The Trump administration has revoked security clearances for 37 current and former government officials. I want to point out that this is wielding the levers of government against uh, political opponents. Yeah, I mean and the thing about it is she's a woman. She's a woman in that if she gets mistreated or some things are fucky, she'll just be like, "It's not that important to me either," right? And I think for most people, you're so used to people being like good at something and then they're so emotionally invested in it that they can't detach themselves from it. And like my wife is not that way. My wife is the kind of person that is like, "Hey, I'm not having fun. Fuck this. I'm out." And you'll never see her do it again. That's just the way it fucking goes. Well, you got to think about ICE is really good, like the major purchaser from Marriott. Think about Las Vegas being fucking empty. All them tables being fucking empty. It's because Donald Trump has destroyed the middle class. So who do you think's buying fucking hotel rooms from Marriott? ICE, and they're probably the major spender. hmm hmm I'm willing to bet you ICE has a big account. See, this is what I'm talking about. We've been talking about fucking aliens my whole life, right? This is the shit that kind of pisses me off. We've talked about alien life my whole life. We just found a moon off Uranus. I'm not that I didn't make it up. It's not. You get what I'm saying? Like we talking about aliens, bro. Y'all talking about like there is another planet in another solar system that is close enough to a star that it can produce life. And of course it's humanoid because we're all made of the same stuff. And shut the fuck up. We just found a new moon, bro. Like 3 planets over. Fuck you talking about aliens. Every now and then we hear a noise. That's where we are. hmm There are almost certainly, almost certainly, uh, probably hundreds of thousands, if not millions, of other life bearing planets in the known universe. And here's the facts. We aren't fucking close enough to any of them for any of us, or our kids, or our grandkids, or our great grandkids, even, to get to that other planet. You'll never get there. You're too far away. And matter cannot travel that fast without being destroyed. So if you want to get there and only be a fucking torso and be really goddamn old, okay. Otherwise, we can't move fast enough to get to Earth 2 before we die, our kids die, our grandkids die, our great grandkids die. And you're like 4 generations down, and you think putting somebody on a new planet when they're fucking 20 years old and they have absolutely no formal education or training, you think this shit's gonna go well? Do you see how I wanted to be an astronaut when I went to Purdue University? I sat down with fucking astronauts. We talked about this. Was before Mass Effect came out. This was before all the good video games came out about space. No Man's Sky. If you wondered what the video game about space is, No Man's Sky. Okay? So just know that like I can prove this a number of ways. Mathematically, historically, scientifically, any way that you want to do this. The reality of the situation is we are fucking alone. It is just us here, and Earth is what we've got. Okay, and I think people are fucking delulu off the. Y'all are off some. You need to get on some fucking medication. Okay, you're hallucinating. You're fucking seeing some shit. Is really what's happening. Mm-hmm. Yep. I mean, the hardcore reality is they have already figured out if humans die off, the octopus is organized enough to just take over the world. hmm So we were like, oh, aliens, and it's like, oh, the octopus. It's like a big threat. hmm You know, one of the my favorite pieces of sci-fi tech is the Death Star, the planet killer, right? And if you watch Star Wars, you'll appreciate me. Um, if an advanced civilization gave a fuck that we existed, they would warp their Death Star within range, destroy us, and then warp out, and you'd have only seen this giant fucking object appear in the sky. We all die, and then it disappears before you atomize. Hopefully, yeah. Because remember, part of Star Wars that they do a shitty job of talking about is teleportation between galaxies. It would be definitely hostile, Atlas. They would preemptively just snuff us out like a candle in a heartbeat. This whole fucking planet in a heartbeat. Oh my god. Kara just figured this out and said, "So you're saying E.T. is not real?" E.T. is one of my favorite movies from when I was a kid. Yeah, and one of the things that we don't understand is scale either, right? So you got to understand we're not one of the bigger animals, right? And a lot of the animals can exist here. Like think about it, like a giraffe. Isn't aren't they like the tallest? And you could talk about a whale being tall, but they're not tall, they're long, and those are two different measurements of things. We need to make sure that we talk about it like it is. Mhm. Dark forest hypothesis. What is that? Huh. Yeah, but I don't agree with that. Yeah, it's actually a worse outcome, right? The For those of you that whose minds are completely spinning upside down, allow me to introduce you to the Fermi paradox. Okay, so if you don't know what that is, raise your hand. I want to see it in the chat. If you do not know what the Fermi paradox is, just go like this. Just raise your hand. Okay. I didn't know what the Fermi paradox was until just now because I don't care. The Fermi paradox explores the contradiction between the high probability of extraterrestrial civilizations existing and the lack of evidence for them. So, the question that the Fermi paradox is trying to answer is if there are ancient alien civilizations, where's the evidence? Okay? That's the Fermi paradox. The Fermi paradox is that you know how people say, do you know how, hold on, cocky you have to be as a human being to think that you're the only intelligent species in the known universe? You've never heard that shit before? Yeah. So when someone says, do you know how crazy it is to think that we're the only advanced civilization in all of the known universe? And I would tell you that given that we have seen 1% of the known universe, 1%, we've only observed a fragment of what is around us. Okay? We just found a new moon off of Uranus, and I ain't talking about your booty. Okay? We haven't been as far out as you'd think. We're just finding new moons on planets nearby in our own solar system. We're babies, basically. Yeah. Like I said, every now and then we hear a noise, like a clanking around, and we're like, what the fuck is that? But we haven't seen anything. We don't have evidence for this. Okay? We've made up a bunch of shit. So understand, as to be expected, we have been fucking lied to. Mostly, mostly the CIA does this shit to keep the public scared and to keep you in your houses. So the answer to the question, if there aren't extraterrestrials, what about the fucking coming out of the ocean and fucking all the northeast part of the country, all that bullshit? Um, it was the OGAs flexing and getting all their toys out to push people back into their houses to quell civil unrest. It makes people scared. The dark force theory, which is a solution to the Fermi paradox. The remember the question is, if there's no way, if there's all this evidence for, well, not evidence, if there is no way that we're the only advanced civilization in the known galaxy, where's all the evidence? Because there's none. There's no evidence. There's no crashed spaceship. There's no ancient alien writings. There's no tombs. There's no ancient cities they've built. There's none of that shit. Okay? Yeah. Maybe they shrink themselves to save energy. Yeah. Or, what the dark forest theory is that there are Oh, there are other ancient civilizations, and they just hide so that they don't get discovered. And that means that they don't communicate with each other, and they don't share ideas and technology and try to grow. Um, and the dark forest theory is really unsettling because what it means is exactly what we expect, is that aliens would then be hostile to us because they're trying to hide from us. And that's why there's a lack of evidence of their existence, is because they desperately do not want us to know that they exist. And I know that there's people that's going to watch this and they're going to be like, I believe in aliens, and I'm just going to sit here and ask you for evidence. And when you say, well, it's the same thing as my religion, I just choose to believe, do you hear yourself? I'm not the person to try to pass, this is just the way I am. That doesn't work for me. There's got to be some logic here, or otherwise it's just deeply unsettling, right? It's deeply unsettling. People say, I believe in aliens, and it's like, okay, well, where's the evidence for them? Oh, you don't have to have evidence. What? Just because the president doesn't have to have evidence before he says shit doesn't mean that you can just say shit. You get what I'm saying? That video game, Once Human. Hmm. I was showing my wife today water gathering and water purification and water storage, and she was like, well, you can gather water in Sims. And I'm like, okay, is it dirty? And she's like, no, the rainwater's clean. Like, you, you know you can't drink rainwater, right? Let's just try to get her to come play Once Human. By the way, we've got my community is playing video games together. I'm letting everyone know now. When Battlefield 6 comes out, I'm going to be playing. That is, I'm going to be playing the fuck out of Battlefield 6. I need squad mates that play and have a headset so that we can communicate. Yeah, there. So Stacy, there's a starting world, like the beginning of the game, where you play through the base game, and then once you get to like level 50 and you've beaten it, and once that ends, you just go to the next one. I'm in the second one, the Mana Bus. Um, it's novice, so the first one's easy, so it should be really easy to go through. Hmm. Just take well aimed shots. Hmm. Yeah, you see, the thing about it is, it has the benefit of being a tactical shooter. So if you're into Tom Clancy games, Call of Duty, Battlefield, Once Human is a tactical shooter. You can crouch, hide behind cover, um, you can craft weapons, repair weapons, upgrade weapons, put all the things on them, attachments that you want. Um, there are thrown explosives there, um, and then ultimately you have a summon. So think of it like Pokemon. You have a summon. You start out with a butterfly, and for the record, that butterfly is legit as fuck. That butterfly will fuck everything. Hmm. It will absolutely kill everything, except for like the bosses. It still does 9 times the damage you do to a boss, though. Just throwing that out there. Because when you shoot a boss in Once Human, you're only doing like 100 damage. When the butterfly hits the boss, it does like 900 damage. And it hits multiple times. Huh? But yeah, Atlas, I'd love to play. I downloaded Battlefield 2042. I'm off Call of Duty Warzone. I used to be super into it, and it's just terrible. And so I was like, anything but a game that just keeps letting me down. You know what I mean? So I'm playing Battlefield 2042. I went on an 18 kill streak yesterday with an AR. and a pistol. I ran out of ammo in both. hmm It felt so good. But I think it's because I've been playing Once Human, which has NPC behaviors that are different than other video games. So, for example, we're gonna talk about video games here for a moment. Um, but bro, they have a Snoop Dogg skin. I need small team movement. I need I don't have a problem running around with like a LMG and an AA rocket or an AT rocket because I was an assaultman. So when I see vehicles, my I see red, and I'm like, oh, let's just destroy that vehicle. It's got four people in it, right? Um, so I did that shit yesterday because motherfuckers really roll like 4 or 5 deep in a just a regular Humvee, and you're just like suck on this at one time. You know what I mean? And yesterday I was playing on Iwo Jima, and this guy was rolling around in a Hind, in a Super Hind, and I just switched from AT to AA. And the Super Hind holds like 8 or 9 people. I found out. hmm It also goes down in two big pieces. Yeah, I used to love Call of Duty. hmm But they did really well with Warzone when COVID first hit, and then it was all uphill from there. It all just kept getting a lot worse. Mm. The skins and the tracers and all um, the things that aren't Call of Duty, you know, mm. Like the lack of mobility. They have like a big map and they had a lack of mobility. So they didn't have enough vehicles. Instead of just putting more vehicles on a fucking map, what'd they do? Redeploy balloons, which don't make any fucking sense. That shit's gonna get you killed. Just throwing that out there. If everybody's like redeploy balloons, how many of you have been shot while you on one trying to get up one of them redeploy balloons? Exactly. Anyway, so the Fermi paradox and the dark forest theory, right? So the Fermi paradox again is if aliens are real, why the lack of evidence? That's the Fermi paradox. Is that mathematically, scientifically, there's no fucking way there's not uh, other advanced civilizations. We ain't that goddamn smart. Okay? The Dark Force theory says, oh, there are other advanced alien civilizations. They're hostile and they're hiding so that we don't target them. And if we were to discover them, they would just target us. But yeah, I am likely alien pretty much everywhere. hmm Yeah, Atlas, think about how weird it is that we have had government hearings over it. Nothing came out of that. And there are still people like the government's lying to us, and it's like the government couldn't coerce other government officials into like making shit up. hmm Those are just the facts. You don't have to like them. But now we all know what the Fermi paradox is, and we know what the dark forest theory is. I think the dark forest theory is silly. Just so, I mean, you didn't ask. Hayat said, if you were a more intelligent life force, would you contact Earthlings? No. Haya then said, I don't like people and I'm a person. I felt that. Okay. Um, and then Stacy said his game name's Hammer Nine, real name Aaron. And it's not Aaron, huh? Good for him. It's ARR Ron. Yeah. A double R. Mm-hmm. Yep. Look at that. How about the Department of Justice is going to begin giving Congress files from the Jeffrey Epstein investigation? Hmm. Interesting about Bill Clinton. Just a thought. So there's definitely pictures of Bill Clinton within the proximity of like Epstein and Trump. But notably, there have been no accusations of wrongdoing aimed at Bill Clinton. So I just want to continue to point that out. Hey, and it may be a cover up. Maybe it's a cover up. Maybe Billy Clinton was paying Jeffrey Epstein too. Probably not 4,200 times, and probably not over a billy. Probably not over $1 billion. Okay, even if he did. But it is funny to me that they're like, but Bill Clinton's in the Epstein list. Like, oh okay. Damn, if you work in a tourist town, get the fuck out. Holy shit. If you, yeah, right, redacted, of course. If you live in a town that borders Canada and relies on Canadian tourists into the United States, uh, boy, boy, tourism's down like gotta be like 40% into the United States from Canada. Jesus Christ. Nebraska announces a plan for an immigration detention center dubbed the Cornhusker Clink. What the fuck? Nebraska Governor Jim Pillen. McCook, Nebraska. South central Nebraska. Check this shit out. There was an explosion on a cargo ship that closed that Baltimore shipping channel near the site of that bridge collapse a couple years ago. You know what we're talking about? They're naming their new plantations. Alligator Auschwitz, Cornhusker Clink. What's the one in Indy called? Speedway Slammer. This shit's stupid. some people got some justice. After years of abuse, an ex-coach at a renowned U.S. gymnastics academy has been arrested by the FBI. Liang Qua, Sean Gardner was arrested. And you wouldn't believe this, but Sean Gardner is a white cis male. Notably not a drag queen. Know what I mean? Asinine and juvenile. Yep. Yep. Oh, did you guys see this where the judge read the verdict wrong? He read that this man who killed someone in self-defense. He shot a deputy in self-defense, and he was not guilty. And the judge read the verdict as though he was guilty. Yeah. The everyone in the room started to be like, Can you reread that verdict?" Like, grow up, people, laughing and joking about suffering. Yeah, and I want to continue to point out how few of them there actually are. So I know that we want to pretend like we're a deeply divided nation. We are not a deeply divided nation. Mm-mm. No. Wait. So they locked him up or no? Well, locked who up? Which one? Alton Oliver was acquitted. He was on trial over the 2022 killing of a Fulton County deputy. He testified that he shot the deputy in self defense. The judge is reading the verdict and he says, "You're guilty on all six counts." And everyone in the room is like looking around like, "What? Read that shit again?" And he's like, "Oh, yeah, you're not guilty." Wait, what did our friends say? You don't talk about Fallen 47 anymore? Yeah, right. Hey, Charlene. Mm-mm. Board of Immigration Appeals has dismissed the Trump administration's appeal of an immigration judge's order earlier this year, releasing a Marshall man from Immigration and Customs Enforcement. Aditya Harsono was arrested at the Marshall Hospital where he worked in March for overstaying a student visa. He later discovered the visa had been revoked days before and without his knowledge, based on a criminal background check revealing a misdemeanor conviction for property damage. Harsono was held behind bars in some jail for 2 months. Hey, Val. Yeah, Judge messed up pretty bad. I agree. Here's the thing. What fucking teachers are coming to Nebraska from Oklahoma? Or I'm sorry, who's going to Oklahoma from New York and California to be a teacher? Like, who's taking that pay cut, right? Yeah, we're still waiting over here. But I want to continue to point this out. Purity tests are racist in nature. Um, Another one of these unfuckable whites. What's this idiot's name? Yeah, by the way, make sure your kids are not watching PragerU at school. By the way, Texas declaring the measles outbreak over does not mean the measles outbreak is over. Just want to point this out. There's a lot of people in fucking denial. This regime is in fucking denial. They will deny facts. I'm thinking a lot about all the people that are gonna unalive unnecessarily. hmm All the people that are gonna die of weather related incidents, people that are gonna starve or dehydrate to death, and how this administration would hide that from you. One of the statistics that sticks out over the last few months to me is in July, over 400 people died in Arizona because of the heat. If they'll hide that information from you, you low key get triggered or people say PragerU. Yeah, they're in your schools now. They've taken over Channel One. They're in trying to indoctrinate your kids. And I saw a video of Christopher Columbus saying it's better to be a slave than to get killed. And both are a death of sorts, and neither are an option. Death before dishonor. hmm Big ol' MSNBC video. Notice they're trying to split up MSNBC and throw out. Oh, they're changing logos as a means of distracting you from their reporting. hmm Oh, you know what I learned this morning? Um, we have an ally in the Middle East that became a home for for sex pests. Uh huh. In fact, there was an American program to allow Americans to safely and quietly and confidentially flee the country and go to Israel. Uh huh. Somebody said if you look up the number of PDFs in Israel, that it's like you know, they're everywhere, like leaves on the ground. hmm That's Israel. hmm So think about what kind of culture you're going to have in Israel when like I think since 1991, actually, they've allowed white cis males in the United States that have committed sex crimes to escape it. hmm And now those people are in. Yep, those people are in Israel with families, and they got kids that can vote now. What do you think them kids are indoctrinated on? Well, they're going to protect their family, right? hmm They're going to claim being Israeli. They're gonna say that they're a victim, right? They're oppressed, but it's a fact. The fact is that as recent as 1991, there was a program for people that committed essay to leave the United States and go to Israel. And think about what time it is. It's like 36 years later. Hey, that's two generations. Two generations. Hmm. Or more that left the United States because they're terrible people and went to Israel. Hmm. Yup. Yep. I even have the article. We posted the article in the Discord today. If you're not in the Discord, you should get into the Discord. It's like where we hang out after the show. Oh, by the way, we saw that yesterday. Uh, Donald Trump called himself and Benjamin Netanyahu law of return. Automatic automatic Israeli citizenship to eligible individuals upon arrival. Here's this article. So you ever wonder why when you criticize Israel they unalive you and unalive journalists and shit? Yeah, think about who lives there. Here's an article from Jacobin, okay, talking about the law of return, and think about who's moving there, right? The worst, the people who can't live here. The Discord after party, yeah. But make sure everybody, everybody has these questions all the time. Why Israel? Because Donald Trump's and all his little buddies are sex pests. They need a place, a safe haven that they can go to when they inevitably get exiled from the United States. What do you think happens when all of this Epstein shit comes out and comes to light? And what happens when you find out? What happens when you find out that I was right? That Donald Trump used his wives and his children to attract minors. What are you going to do when it's Don Jr., when it's Ivanka, when it's Jared? Like what Kushner, not I. Like what are you going to think about those people? What is going to happen to his approval rating, right? When this information comes out that it's not that just that Donald Trump's a bad guy. It's that Donald Trump's own spouses and his own children were used. They're going to get exiled. They're going to not be welcome here. And where are they going to go? Israel. Hmm. And there's currently nowhere for them to go. So what has to happen? And again, I know it sounds batshit crazy, but understand that this is not. I am not doing this. The president is. The President of the United States wants to build a resort in Gaza. The President of the United States is supporting what's going on. Refresh your shit. The President of the United States is trying to help Israel demolish Gaza so that it can be rebuilt. And know that people like Leonardo DiCaprio has ownership stake in a property management group that is bidding to build there. Hmm. Yep. Hmm. And again, they're going to go there and build a resort and a golf course, and then Israel will build their military base next door, and they'll extend the Iron Dome so it will be the safest place in the world. Uh huh. For pedophiles. That's what they're doing. Is setting up a safe haven. Uh huh. For the worst people in the world, so that they can continue the operation. Hmm. Kidnapping, sex trafficking, hmm exploitation of minors, the exploitation of people. Hmm. One of the things that I want to point out is that Donald Trump over the course of time has not paid his uh, contractors, the people that are supposed to do all this work for him, that have built all these things for him. He stiffed them on that money too, and he got fined for that. Yes, Leo does like young girls too. You get fined for that here, and it's hard to do business when you're just getting fined all the fucking time. So when you do business in other countries that have way more lax laws, for example, Dubai, it's important to point out that Donald J. Trump owns a resort and hotel in Dubai. And he built that off the backs of people from Myanmar. They imported labor. Literally, they got foreign people that aren't from Dubai either to come to Dubai to build this resort. And then, as soon as they got there, they confiscated their identification. They put them up in group housing. They're basically housing all their employees in a gymnasium, and there's one bathroom, which means that's not a livable situation. And then they pay those workers from Myanmar less than it actually costs to live. So they can't just leave. They don't have the money. And they also don't have their identifications. And they're also under contract, and they're being held against their will and forced to complete this work on this resort in Dubai that Donald Trump. And the thing about it is, Donald Trump wants to do that in Israel. And so, who do you think he's going to get to build that resort in Israel on the tops of all them bodies and shit? That's right. They're going to just make the Palestinian people do it. Hmm. The surviving ones, all those starving people with the distended bellies. If they survive, they'll be working on a resort. Hmm. That they build over the top of these people's graves. It's the most disgusting fucking thing I've ever seen in my life. Right? And we gotta say it. We gotta talk about it. People don't talk about it. Not only does Donald Trump already own the resort uh, in Dubai, not only did that already happen, it's it's making him money. Because people want to go there and say they seen it, because he's the president. And so for some cultures, they don't give a shit. That man's the president. He's a celebrity. Hmm. But don't ever go there. Not even out of curiosity. No, we're not going to Dubai and staying in Donald Trump's fucking resort. We're not going to Israel either. And my hope is that no one does. Yeah, you say that, but when you got a bunch of them and somebody's standing over them with a taser or a billy club or a whip, They're effectively slave labor. Hmm. And don't ever forget that for example, Donald Trump was supported by white supremacists, right? That are just fine with slavery. Hmm. Ashton involved in Israel, like Ashton Kutcher? No way. So first of all, Ashton Kutcher's awful. He was an early investor in Airbnb. Yo, what the fuck? I'm just, hey, Jerusalem Post. I didn't know. Did you know? Yep. So just know, fuck Ashton Kutcher, Leonardo DiCaprio. Hey, fuck them too. Yep. See if there's anything else we missed. Oh, there's a U.S. Veteran that was part of a skydiving team. He's like a former U.S. Army Ranger. Spoke out against Israel and got taken off the team. So understand the U.S. has military ties to the IDF, and so they're not going to punish you while you're on active duty, but as soon as you get out, yeah, they'll take you off some celebratory team that you're on. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And, hey, don't meet your heroes, right? Not that I ever idolized Ashton Kutcher, but a lot of people do. We ought to talk about the weather. Um, Somebody messaged me and they were like, "You were right about Hurricane Aaron." And remember that I said this. It's not about me being right, right? The right. The problem is other people are way wrong. Like they're saying like, "Oh, it ain't that big deal." Right? Jesus Christ. It looks like it's gonna run aground. As an Airbnb host, I can say they are an awful company. See, what I always thought is, I watched this thing yesterday about how people are like, I know capitalism's bad, but businesses need to exist. So instead of being like business is bad, capitalism's bad, it's like, why not just build an ethical version of whatever is unethical? Whatever is non-democratic, which whatever company you can't support, what if you built its competitor and it was ethical and it did the right thing? And that's exactly what I've said. I built the American Socialist Party knowing that if I'm pro equality, meaning that I support women and people of color and the LGBTQIA plus, I'm gonna have a lot more allies, right? If I say I'm pro union, right? Well, you're pro worker now, right? Because now everybody's like, well, everyone else is laborers except for billionaires, right? So we're all just laborers. We don't have a party for that. Hey, I want everyone to have universal health care, education, income, and housing. I often shit on the fucking Democratic Party for not having a platform. In fact, somebody came in here earlier and was like, Democrats don't have a platform. Their only platform is shitting on everything that Donald Trump does, and it was like, I don't want to be friends with somebody that thinks like the entirety of what Democrats do is just oppose Donald Trump. It's like, well, what he does is fucking illegal. It's pretty easy to oppose that, so that's not saying anything, right? But the reason we founded the American Socialist Party is to give something for us to be proud of. We build this together. There is no I. Um, so I appreciate you all for being here. No, again, I'm not a meteorologist, so I have absolutely no idea what I'm talking about. Yeah, it's hitting Wilmington, North Carolina tomorrow at 110 mile an hour. Yeah, Jesus Christ. Did I not say they keep showing this thing like, oh, it's moving to the right, it's moving to the right, it's gonna miss, and it's like, look at the actual radar. Look at this actual radar. Now, is the eye of the storm gonna hit land? I don't know, but look at the storm surge coming off of it, and look how it's all up in Myrtle Beach and Cape Hatteras. Yeah, specifically. hmm So the eye might not go over land, but that doesn't mean anything. So yeah, looks like it's gonna hit land. You know what I mean? I went to watch Y'allbot last night and couldn't. Y'allbot's down. Awesome. All right, looks like heat advisory. Northeast Texas, southeast Oklahoma, basically the southern half of Arkansas, northern Louisiana, northeast Louisiana, eastern Louisiana, uh, a considerable portion of Mississippi under a heat advisory. What is the purple? Oh, extreme heat warning. Oh, even bigger than a heat advisory. Okay, listen. Central West Mississippi. Central West Mississippi. Extreme heat warning. Hey, there's an extreme heat warning southwest Arizona, southeast California, southeast Utah, and just a heat advisory, almost all Utah, Western California, Southern California, and then up there in Montana. Um, there is a heat advisory and an extreme heat warning in Montana. hmm And then I see a couple things going on over here in the northwest, but they're color coded, sorry. Extreme heat watch in Oregon, and then up in Washington State, it looks like Seattle area, coastal flood statement. And then what is these gray balls in Wyoming and Colorado? Air quality alerts. And then over here on the eastern seaboard, let's see. What are those little brown things? Tropical storm warnings going from, like I said, North Carolina all the way up to, what is that state? Uh, Massachusetts. So there is a tropical storm warning all the way up the east coast. Again, like I said, from southern tip of North Carolina, Wilmington area, all the way up um, to Massachusetts. And then there is behind that a hurricane warning. I think that's your weather. It's going to be very hot today. And that's per the National Weather Service because Y'allbot was down. Yeah, Y'allbot was down today. I had to go to the National Weather Service to look at it, and the map is static at that point. I'm not nearly as helpful. But anyway, I appreciate y'all. Have a fantastic rest of your day. Best of luck. Hang in there. Try not to get kidnapped by ICE. Right? Yeah, Y'allbot's down. He trying to run from the wife hospital's wife had a baby. Oh, yeah. Stacy said I'm 4 hours from Myrtle Beach. Yeah. Jared, I still owe you an ASF shirt. Oh, American Socialist Party. Let me. I'm gonna pay someone to make us like a professional version of the logo that Kat and I made. And once I get us like a professional logo, I'll slip that to you, Dina, and then you can worry about a shirt. But don't worry about it. All right. Hey, have a good rest of your day. Stay safe out there. We made it through a whole show on TikTok without getting. Yeah, I like Ryan Hall. He could absolutely get paid less money and go do it for some company. And he produces his own stuff, and he has a whole team of storm chasers, and they all have their own channels, and they're all doing their own thing. And yeah, he does more good for a community after a storm than FEMA. Have a good day, everybody.